Merry Christmas. And naturally on Christmas, I put on my Boston Bruins Christmas sweater and come up here to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning, annual traditions. I decided to sneak up to my bedroom and make a video on why I think the Tampa Bay Lightning are the favorites to win the Stanley Cup, even with Nikita Kucherov missing the whole regular season. Now, Kucherov, as I just said, is going to miss the whole regular season, but they expect him back in the playoffs after he undergoes a surgery on his hip. Hip surgery can be rough, might not be the quickest recovery when in terms of him getting back and getting up to full speed. Hips are big for hockey, so maybe when he comes back, he's not 100% right away in terms of form, but him being out there alone, he's going to bag points just because he's that talented. So let's talk about their signings. So Julien Brisebois, I hope I'm pronouncing that French last name right. I'm not the best with that. He is in a tough situation, but in a situation many GMs wish they could be in. And that's the fact that he has so much talent, and he has to fit them all under a hard cap of $82 million or $81 or whatever it is. Either way, he's going to be able to pull it off this year thanks to the Nikita Kucherov hip surgery. And that is the only thing that's good about the Nikita hip surgery for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They signed Anthony Cirelli, who is a top 6 center, in my opinion, and I think most people's opinion. Will probably take home the Selke at some point in his career. People are very high on him defensively, so am I. $4.8 million for 3 years, very good deal for a 23-year-old. He'll probably be signing a bigger deal at the end of that one, and they'll probably have the space to sign him to that at the time. Maybe not though if they keep drafting the way they do and just nonstop hits here. Depth player Matthew Joseph, $737 a year for 2 years, $737,000 that is. Eric Cernak, great defenseman for the Lightning. 3 years, $2.95 million. Jan Ruda, depth defenseman for the Lightning. 2 years, $1.3 million. Sergachev, top 4 defenseman for the Lightning. 3 years, $4.8 million. Pat Maroon, 4th liner for the Lightning. $900K, 2 years at that. Luke Shen, 7th defenseman. 1 year, $800K, or 6th defenseman, whichever way they go with him and Jan Ruda. The only losses Tampa Bay has is Carter Verhaeghe, depth forward. Zach Bogosian, 7th defenseman on him, or 6th defenseman. Kevin Shattenkirk, who put up a decent amount of points last year, but if you look at the D-core, you're not worried at all. You're really not worried. And we'll look at their lines later on in the video. So basically, you have a team that their only question was mental last year. Can this team mentally go through the Stanley Cup playoffs? And they went through one of the toughest mental Stanley Cup playoffs in a bubble. This team is battle-tested, proven, and they believe in themselves now. And as much as you hate to see a 90-plus point guy go on the IR for the whole season, there are very few teams who would be equipped to take that loss, but Tampa Bay is one of them. They really are. One thing you got to talk about is Steven Stamkos. Steven Stamkos didn't really play at all in the playoffs. He played 1 game, scored 1 goal. That 1 goal got ESPN Play of the Year for the moment. And you gotta love to see that, to be honest. It was a really cool moment to see Stamkos score that goal. He could barely even last out there. I think he only played a period, if I remember right, and he scored a goal in that period because that's just how damn good Steven Stamkos is. And they expect him to be fully healthy. If you want to pause it, you can read either of these quotes or things that were said by Julien Brisebois on the right and Steven Stamkos, his outlook for the next season on the left. So, full health besides Kucherov will mean that Tampa Bay is going to roll. They're going to roll. So this is the lines they have at the moment. You can take Kucherov out there, throw in probably a Tyler Johnson, a Yanni Gorder, or Blake Coleman up there, insert Mitchell Stevens or Matthew Joseph into this lineup, and this is looking better than most teams in the division that they got placed in this year already. Now that's another thing about Tampa Bay is, assuming they get Kucherov back in the playoffs, they are in a pretty not great division, maybe the worst one in the NHL this year. And I'll get to that later as well. But you got to look at the points that were put up by some of these players last year. Braden Point, who's playing first line center for them, 64 points in 66 games last year. He scored 30 goals, or adjusted for last year's game total. Would have scored 30 in a regular season, no doubt. 3 straight 30-goal seasons. Stamkos last year, 66 in 57 games. Palat 41-69, Yanni Gourde 30-70, Tyler Johnson 31-65, Cirelli 44-68, Killorn 49-68 with 26 goals from Killorn. Blake Coleman 32 points in 66 games, 21 goals. Maroon and Goodrow, fourth liners basically for them, around 20 points each. Hedman 55 points in 66 games. Sergachev 34-70. Departed Kevin Shattenkirk put up 34-70. Ryan McDonough's point totals were down. Maybe he got some of the looks that Shattenkirk didn't. Probably not though because of the defensive shutdown role he plays. They had 12 players over 20 points in 70 games. I believe that is the most in the NHL. And to give you an idea, the Bruins had 11 last year and they won the President's Trophy. You then got to talk about the goaltender, Andrei Vasilevsky, who is 26 years old, probably just entered his prime last year or the year before that, put up an above-average .917 save percentage in the regular season. Then the postseason shut the door down, .927, fantastic postseason for him, one of the Lightning's best players. So you look at all levels of this team. You got maybe the best top four in the NHL in their D-core, the best depth scoring, one of the top three goalies in the league, in my opinion. They're like I said, there are a few teams who are equipped to take the loss of Nikita Kucherov if they were to have them. Tampa Bay has that, and you may say, yeah, because they're $11 million over the cap, and I'd say, yeah, that's probably the case, but not much you can really do about that because he does need the shoulder surgery, and because of that, he does not count to the cap. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this team looks this year compared to the year after. And because of this, assuming Kucherov comes back with health, and even if he doesn't, the Lightning still have an extremely good shot at winning the Cup, and they should be in the Final Four when you look at their division. And I'm gonna transition to that now. I also need to tell, they believe in themselves now, and they're one of the most talented teams in the league, if not the most talented. I'd say the most talented. And that belief was the only thing holding them back, and now they believe they can close out games. And I think you might see the first repeat since Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh was the first since, I want to say Pittsburgh in the 90s as well, or maybe Detroit in the early 2000s. It's really hard to win back-to-back, but Tampa Bay is in a good position even without their best scorer being in the lineup for most of the year. And that has to do with the timetable of his injury, but also this crappy division. And you might be saying, Pat, most of these teams were in the bubble. I think all of them were in the bubble, except for Detroit. Well, I also have to remind you, only 7 teams weren't invited to the bubble. And, you look at them. Let's look at them if they would have made the playoffs in regular season. In the East, the teams that were in the East last year in this division, Carolina finished 7th in the East last year. Low-tier playoff team. They got bounced. They got dominated by the Bruins. They still have a step to take. Goaltending, not that great with Mrazek and Reimer. Needs to take a step forward. Scoring, the elite scorers need to score in the playoffs. They've yet to proven that they can dominate a playoff series. They're good, but they need to take that next step, maybe add another piece. Columbus, 9th. Columbus is just a shutdown team. One-trick pony. They give Tampa Bay some fits every now and then, as you remember 2 years ago. But is anyone really going to pick them to beat Tampa Bay, even with Tampa Bay's losses? Probably not. Florida, 12th. Florida's a joke. They can't shut anything down. They can score for days. They can't shut anything down. Bobrovsky needs to turn around for them to be relevant. You then got Detroit, who was the worst team in the league by a country mile. All right, let's move on to the other 3 teams, the other 3 Western teams. Chicago, 12th in the West last year. Lucky to be invited to the bubble. Didn't deserve to be there. But, when you invite 24 teams, you're going to have some crap teams there. Chicago, I don't think is as bad as they were last year. But at the same time, Kirby Dach just broke his wrist yesterday. So there's a good young player who's not going to be playing for them. On top of the fact, they're just not even close to as good as Tampa is. Nashville, 9th. Nashville is a team that just signed Eric Holla, and they re-upped Mikael Granlund the other day. They really don't have high-end scoring. Their D-core is not what it used to be. It's still solid. Goaltending is very much a question for them, too. And then you get to the only other relevant team in this division, and that would be Dallas, who finished 5th in the West. And you got to remember, Dallas is not the most consistent team in the world, and you should really have some questions about if the Dallas you saw in the postseason last year is the real Dallas. They need to prove they're a top 3 team in their conference beyond last year, where they didn't even finish that way in the regular season, and then they just went on a playoff run. Are they just a one-year wonder playoff team, or are they actually taking a step in the right direction? You got Jamie Benn aging. You got Tyler Seguin, who, like Nikita Kucherov, had surgery, and Seguin isn't going to be back till April. So why should I believe any team in this division is even going to test Tampa? I'd say the best chance is probably Carolina, if I'm being honest, just because of their decor and their possible young guys taking that next step. Dallas, I would if Sagan was in the lineup. I'd say they have a good shot. But I look at it, even if those things weren't the case with Dallas, when it comes to Sagan, I'd still pick Tampa Bay to win this division. Because from top to bottom, they are the best team in this division, and they're still one of the best teams in the league. And they're very fortunate to be in this division, which out of the divisions in the States, I think is clearly the worst division. You could say the low-tier teams in the Pacific are pretty bad too, which the Kings and Ducks are miserable, and the Coyotes are a joke. But then you look at the other teams, like St. Louis, like Colorado, and you see the top-tier teams in those divisions, and in the other division with the Bruins, the Penguins, the Flyers, they'd give issues to Tampa Bay winning a division. But none of these teams in this division, I think, have the high-end talent or the depth or the combo both that Tampa Bay has and the goaltend. Tampa Bay just has everything compared to everyone in this division. Everyone in this division is pretty mediocre or average or slightly above average in Carolina's case, in my opinion. And Dallas when they're fully healthy, of course. But Dallas needs to prove it another year. Carolina needs to take the next step, as I said. So I expect this team to win this division, even without Kucherov, get to the playoffs, get Kucherov back, make the Final Four, and once you get to the Final Four, it's very tough to narrow down those teams because you're probably looking at like a Colorado or St. Louis on one side of the bracket. The Canadian team, I really don't know what to think about any of those teams. I'm not sure any of them are elite. And then you're probably looking at a Flyers team, which took a big step forward last year, a Bruins team that took a big step forward last year. I feel like I'm forgetting another good team in that division. The Penguins, who knows with them, though. They run their team pretty weird. I think their best days are behind them, but that's neither here nor there. The Capitals, that's the team. The Capitals, they might turn the clock back with some of their players. They have good depth. They're just better teams than the ones in this division, in my opinion. Or they're more certainties than the teams in this division. And with that being said, I really have no worries about Tampa Bay this year, and I expect them to be a very good team, just like they have been the last few years. So those are my thoughts on the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'd like to congratulate them on winning the Stanley Cup last year. I never did that because I decided to take a break from making videos in September, and I just started up the other day. And I'm not a fan of Tampa. I really hate them. They're the only team that's knocked off the Bruins in the last 3 years in the playoffs, besides St. Louis, of course. I'm in the East. They're the only team in the East to knock us off. Us and them have been the top two teams in the East the last 3 years. Obviously, I think they've been a little better than us. A little better. They won a cup, so, a decent bit better. But, yeah, give me your thoughts on Tampa Bay and if you're worried about them. I think they're going to be fine without Kucherov, and then I think they're going to get him back at the perfect time. Merry Christmas again. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter, type in @PatSylviaNHL, and you will find me. Peace out. Happy holidays.